Joining us today is another Pittsburgh native, graduated from high school from Central Catholic, got drafted by his hometown team, the Pittsburgh Pirates, in the 1980 draft in the fourth round, played 13 years of professional baseball, and has stayed inside professional baseball almost every sort of way that you can imagine. Mike Berger. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mike. We appreciate you being here, man.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. We'll get right into it. For those who don't know, Mike right now is currently the Brewers Pro Scouting Crosschecker. So he's one of the scouts within the Brewers organization. And starting from there, Mike, kind of want you to discuss kind of your journey into baseball and kind of what are you up to today with being a crosschecker scout?
Well, the journey for me, anyways, probably began at 5. I knew what I wanted to do at a very young age, and that was be a professional baseball player. I had the good fortune of having a father who was with the Pittsburgh Pirates. My father was Jack Berger, was a scout in the 50s, 60s, then was a public relations director. So my brothers and I, we grew up at Forbes Field and Three River Stadium, and we were a part of all those privileges of going into a clubhouse, pregame, postgame, taking batting practice, and it's in my blood. It's something I wanted to do, and I've been very blessed to have been doing it now for over 40 years.
Wow, it's awesome to talk to someone that's kind of been around Forbes Field in those awesome 60s and 70s Pirate teams that you hear stories about at our age, at least, that never got to experience, and hopefully one day experience a Pirate team like that again, but we'll see.
Yeah, no doubt. It was, it was a real privilege. I mean, Pittsburgh's one of a kind, as we all know, the city, just the way you're raised and, the neighborhoods and everything. But our sports teams in the 70s in particular were remarkable. I mean, Steelers winning 4 and 6 years, the Pirates winning bookend World Series in 71 and 79, Pitt winning championship. I mean, we can go on and on and on. And it was a tremendous time. Even though there was a decline in industry, it was almost as though the sports gods spoke to the city and said, "Hey, listen, Pirates, Steelers, do your part to uplift this community," and it's a part of who we are.
Yeah. Did you ever get to meet Roberto?
I did.
Really?
I did. As a matter of fact, my father, unbeknownst to me to about a year ago, my 86-year-old mother told me that my father, Jack Berger, was the first person to greet Roberto Clemente when he flew into spring training from San Juan into Tampa, Florida in 1955.
Wow.
Awesome.
What a story, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, my mother, my mother who's alive and well and lives in Pittsburgh, she shared that with me last year during spring training. And I said, "Mom, you've been waiting all this time, waiting all this time?" And we obviously, we were very close with the Pirates growing up, and, Clemente notwithstanding, we were raised around all of them. And that's it's in our blood.
It's awesome.
It's amazing, man. It's great to hear something like that for, like I said, Roberto. It's such an icon for the city of Pittsburgh. But going back to what you do now, so you're a Brewers Pro Scout Crosschecker. A lot of people don't know what that is, and it's a pretty significant task. And kind of give us a rundown of like the process and maybe the 20/80 scouting scale and how to score high numbers on that, and just inform our viewers who are wanting to be pro players, how to score well on something like that.
Sure. Currently, with the Brewers, I see both amateur players. I wound up seeing about 40 or 50 players in advance of the 2020 draft, which, we've reduced to 5 rounds, but we're going to have in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
I've seen roughly 50 high school and college players from throughout the country. Did a lot of major league spring training up until the time the commissioner decided we had to pull the plug on Major League Baseball. So, I'm seeing a game every day. It could be a major league game. It could be a minor league game. I've seen a fair amount of independent league play the last few years and signed a few players out of various independent league stops. As long as I'm in a ballpark every day, I'm generally in the right place. I'm an average evaluator. I go more on, just it's how I'm wired, gut feel, makeup, just how comfortable guys look, and I'll let the brains within the organization, crunch the numbers and do their due diligence as far as all the analytics are concerned.
Right. That's amazing to know. I like that gut feel term. You just kind of know it's just like a feeling. Like you said, this kid's he's got some, a high ceiling and something only you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to stick with your strengths, and it doesn't, I'm in no way suggesting that I'm not trying to be that old dog you can't teach new tricks to. I'm constantly learning and understanding the new methodologies that exist within our industry today, but you have to stick with your strengths. And, as I said, I'm not the best walking planet Earth, but I've seen tens of thousands of players. I've played with thousands of players. I've seen players I've passed up in the system. I've seen countless more players pass me up on the way to the big leagues. I've managed them at the minor league level. I've been a director of player personnel, scouting director. So you just take, at least for me anyways, you take all those life's experiences, plus I was raised in the game with my father's background. And so as a result, you just take everything you've learned, and if I'm able to absorb 25, 30% of that, I believe there's a pretty good foundation for having an understanding of what a player looks like, just certain mannerisms, certain instincts and gut feel. And I'll take my chances on that.
Yeah,
absolutely, man.
No, for sure. Like how the game's changed, you can't rely on a new technology that's saying this guy's better when, like you said, your gut, your eyes might be telling you something a little different. Sometimes you just got to trust that and ride with it, for sure.
Yeah. And if you're the general manager in Milwaukee, David Stearns, then I believe if I were the general manager, I would want contrasting viewpoints when they exist. I would want to know that that the analytic wing of the decision-making process has said player at this level. The boots on the ground, the eyewitness accounts of that player maybe have them at this level. So let's discuss why we have him here, why you have him there, and let's see if there's not common ground, or let's just find out maybe he is this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I think
Amazing.
that's awesome. Absolutely. Next kind of question here, just because this is a time that none of us have experienced before with this pandemic. And like you said, the MLB draft is cut to 5 rounds instead of 40, how it's been. And for you, what advice would you give young high school athletes and young collegiate athletes who are being affected by this, especially the baseball players out there?
I've given that a fair amount of thought in the last few weeks. I don't know that I have I don't have a great answer for you, but I guess if it were me, if I were in those shoes, rewinding time 40 years ago, I know how I was wired then. I would continue to pursue my dream. If my dream were to play professional baseball and ultimately get to the major leagues. With that being said, I would certainly diversify my skill set. I mean, if you're a college guy, you have probably 3 years of education under your belt. Let's not let that lapse. Let's make certain we get that squared away, because if you haven't already experienced it, sooner or later, you're probably going to wind up being married, probably going to wind up having a family. And you just don't want to lump everything into one basket. But again, it's pretty difficult to tell an athlete, especially somebody who's chasing that dream that they've worked so hard for since they were 5 years old, not to do it. But just safeguard against the inevitable changes that are occurring today and that probably will be here in the years to come.
Right.
And the changes that I'm referencing are, in all likelihood, a reduction of minor league cities, which has been widely discussed. And, for every minor league team that potentially no longer exists, there are 25 to 30 minor league playing jobs that have to land somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice, especially for like some of these guys that were maybe juniors or seniors expecting to go not in the top 5 rounds, but maybe between rounds 6 and 15, whatever. And now they have that second chance kind of come back. Say they were rehab and trying to get healthy, they can kind of do that now. It helps some guys, and I'm sure it hurts a lot, so you got to give and take.
Yeah, and I think it's just a reminder. Unfortunately, it's a tough lesson or a tough pill for all of us to swallow. But the younger generation that you just referenced, again, if this is what you want to do it. Follow your heart, follow your dream. But I think the reminder today more than ever is just make certain that your life's work is diversified. Okay.
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
There's a legitimate fallback plan. And hopefully it's something that you enjoy, maybe not as much, because there's really no substitute for playing a professional sport, but something is a really good, there's a really good soft landing, if you will. There's an old adage my father used to use. He said, it's not how high you climb, it's how soft you land. And how high you bounce after you land.
Yeah.
So that would be the advice I would give today.
That's an awesome saying. I'm going to start using that.
Yeah. Might as well put that on a shirt. Put it on a Brewer shirt out there.
Exactly. I got a kind of a fun question for you, Mike. You've been around a long time with scouting, and out of any level, basically any year, give us your best young player you've ever scouted personally that you had a great gut feeling about.
That wound up being like an impact player?
Yeah, that people would probably know.
Okay. Well, again, I didn't look at these questions prior to the interview, so the guy that mine is Brandon Phillips.
Oh,
okay.
Brandon was a really good story. This was 1999, so I'm the East Coast Crosschecker for the Montreal Expos.
Wow.
And doing half the country, and I'm in Atlanta overnight in anticipation of driving up to Clemson University the following day to go see a college game. I believe it was Matt Lucroy I was supposed to see. And my national scouting director, who's above me in the pecking order, he phones me that morning and he said, "Hey, Mike, listen, I'm out west and I got rained out here. I'm going to have to run into Clemson today. I'm on my way now. I'm going to see LaCroix. You're going to have to find another game." Totally get it. That's the pecking order.
How it works. Yeah.
Sitting in Atlanta. So I reach out to my area scout, who I liked and valued quite a bit, who was living in Atlanta. And I said to him, I said, "Listen, here's the deal. I can't go into Clemson. Lenny's going to go into Clemson. I need a game. I can't waste a day." And he said, "Yeah, well, listen, okay, I've got a shortstop. He's up at Redan High School in Stone Mountain, about 40 miles from downtown Atlanta from the airport." Hey, no problem. I get there. I drove up there. I pull into the parking lot, and it's snowing, by the way. There's snow coming down. And I pull into the parking lot. The field is off to my left, and it's kind of a sunken diamond. The Redan team, the Stone Mountain, whatever they were, they're hitting in a batting cage along the third base side. He's got as my judge without even getting out of the car. I said, "I know exactly who I'm looking at." There he is. I mean, doing it. I said, "I got him." So,
You got him.
because the swing stood out.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
So then he takes ground balls. He takes infield. Blah blah blah. He goes home run left center field with the wind blowing in. I called my area guy, and my area guy at the time had him in a little low, which we've all done. It's a tough job. I called my guy and I said, "Listen, I saw your shortstop, Brandon Phillips." I said, "You may want to run him up the rung a few more." I said, "This guy's special." 2 months later, we're bringing in the cavalry. Now everyone's coming in to see him. the Expos planted their flag. We took him in the second round, and he had a tremendous career in Cincinnati, and he'll probably wind up the Cincinnati Red Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he was awesome, man. Growing up through high school, all those late 2000, between 2004 and 10-ish, I remember him being an icon of ours as a middle infielder.
Yeah, he's special, and so I would say that's the first one. Now, keep in mind too, for every greatest hits I can recite, there are a lot of flubs that for every probably 5 guys that I completely swung and missed on. So don't ask.
Hey, it's like a batting average. If you're 1 for 3, it's pretty good, right?
Absolutely.
Is there – okay, so on the other side of that, this is going to be mine. Is there somebody that you were kind of thinking about, didn't pull the trigger, and then ended up being that superstar come out through the league?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who. Oh, Chase Utley.
Utley.
Oh, no, I'll give you one better than Utley. Verlander. This is after he signed and in a Detroit. I saw Verlander pitch in Erie for the Erie Seawolves. I looked at Seawolves at the time. I'm doing pro coverage. So mind you, he's already drafted. He's already first round material. He's already in AA in a very, quick period of time. So I'm doing pro coverage, and I roll up to Erie, and Verlander's throwing, and I distinctly remember saying to somebody, I said, probably a bullpen guy like him. I didn't see the real good curveball. Yeah, 240 wins later.
Yeah.
Couple Cy Youngs.
He's only a guy that can throw 102 in the 9th inning still.
That's the guy, and I've talked to Don Kelly about it because, Donnie and I are friends, and of course, was a teammate of Verlander's. And I told him that story. I said, because Donnie broke into scouting a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Of course, bench coach for the Pirates. And when he's breaking into scouting, I shared that story. He went right into the pro side. And I said, Donnie, listen, I said, you're Mr. Baseball. I get it. And, you and I have cycled through a ton of players. This is a challenge. It's a challenge. And you didn't marry your wife after your first date. Don't be wed to conviction after 1 3-inning look at Verlander, because you might be.
What a story, man. That's awesome.
Hey, that's some great advice.
Well, you just got to keep an open mind, and you got to do your homework, and you have to understand. And something I probably discounted at the time was, he was probably on a strict fastball pitching plan. Right out of the draft, and we know you got that snap. And I knew he had a breaking ball, but I didn't see it.
Yeah.
So you never stop learning. Hopefully, you never stop learning or evolving, and with the goal in mind of minimizing the mistakes that we all make through process. If you can trust your process at the end of every day, after you write that report and hit send, if you can sit there and say, you know what, I trust my process. I watched that position player for 5 days in San Antonio. I saw him take ground balls. I saw him take batting practice. I was locked in. You know what, you go with it.
Yeah.
But part of that process too is asking questions and trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Why didn't he have that good curveball? Because he only threw 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Probably because fastball command was the modus operandi.
Yeah.
Definitely.
No, that totally makes sense. Absolutely. Well, Mike, we appreciate you hopping on and joining us today. So it's awesome to get a Pittsburgh guy out here who's had the success that you've had throughout professional baseball, and we appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. It means a lot, and happy Memorial Day to everybody. And let's hope we get back in the saddle here in the next few weeks and get Major League Baseball cranked up again.
Absolutely.
Dude, you're exactly right.
Yeah, we can't wait.
All right, guys. You well.
You too.
Thanks,
See you,
Mike.
Mike.